Hello students, in this video I'd like to walk you through your second performance-based project in which you'll be creating a discipline plan for middle school students. So the scenario is this: imagine that your principal has assigned you to be representatives of your curriculum department, and given the importance of leadership in the middle school setting, your role is to create a grade level interdisciplinary discipline classroom management plan for the new school year. We're going to look at the explicit instructions, but first it's so important that you have read thoroughly pages 244 to 252, because the primary elements or pieces of this disciplinary plan are drawn from the reading that's in our text on those pages. And our book does such a nice job of outlining best practices in classroom management at the middle school level, from the discipline plan itself to team procedures. Now, team procedures are going to be what all of the middle school teachers and staff members need to be aware of in terms of procedures for students accessing their lockers, for instance. What needs to occur when homework is handed in late? What needs to happen for makeup tests, headings on papers, how extra credit should be assigned. And the reason it's interdisciplinary or team-oriented is because we know that middle schools are designed to be interdisciplinary in nature. So everything is woven together. So all the teachers, the school as a whole, need to have one uniform set of disciplinary procedures, consequences, encouragement strategies, so that the students know exactly what to expect, and so that we can cultivate within them good habits that are consistent across the board. So make sure that you read those pages, and then after that, consult the directions that we're going to look at now. So we go over to the interdisciplinary instructions. This is just like a checklist of elements that you need to include. You'll notice that this isn't scored using a rigorous rubric, so you can breathe a sigh of relief. I love rubrics because they let you know what expectations are there, but this one is done differently just to give you a little bit more freedom and to let your creativity shine as well. So you're going to include the following. You're going to have 3 to 5 rules with explanations. You're going to have consequences, between 3 to 6 consequences with explanations. I will say this, especially for those of you that are gaining your licensure in early childhood, make sure that these consequences are age appropriate and that they're fostering greater independence and promoting transition to adolescence and then to young adulthood. What am I saying? Don't use a color-based system. That's for early childhood students in kindergarten, first, second grade. Students in middle school, we don't want to move them from green to yellow to red. They need something that shows greater independence and greater maturity, so you need to make sure that you use consequences that are more age appropriate. Then you'll have team encouragement strategies, and you will pick 3 to 5 of these. What will you do to promote and build positivity and good behavior through positive reinforcement? Then you have those team procedures, and again, there's a whole host of topics that you can choose from to then create your team procedures, and they're listed on page 246. I mentioned use of lockers, as well as late homework but extra credit, grading policies, bathroom times, that's a big one. There's a whole host of them that you can choose from, but you want explicit instructions for expectations for students when engaging in any of those activities. Then you're going to have a format for parent-teacher conferences. Family-parent relationships are vital in middle school because helping students to transition more positively into adolescence and young adulthood really is dependent on having wonderful support at home. So keeping strong parent ties is very important. Keeping strong community ties is also important. So you will develop a community plan as well. And you can look at page 251 of your text, which just talks about different ways that you can build up enthusiasm within the community and draw the community into the school. You only need to cite one relevant source in this, and that will be in the 7th part, in which you will root your discipline plan, particularly those consequences, the encouragement strategies, and the rules themselves into some theorist. So the best way that I could show you what I mean by this is to look at an example, because what you'll notice in the exemplary example that we look at is that the student who constructed her rules, consequences, and team encouragement strategies then references back to them when she's talking about the theorists that helped to inspire the way she worded them and those consequences and team encouragement strategies that she came up with. So that's everything in a nutshell. Let's look at an exemplary example. I included two. Here's one of them. This student starts out with her rules and expectations, and she has one keyword to help students remember these rules and expectations. Her rules, the first keyword is respect, the second is responsibility, the third is attitude, and the fourth is pride. And then she talks about each of those and what they mean, because this will be posted somewhere, and you'll notice how positive they are to just empower the students with a sense of positivity. Then she has consequences to her actions. She has a first, second, third, and fourth response, or excuse me, down to a fifth response. And you'll notice in the book really stresses that sending a student to the principal's office should occur as a last resort, because you really want to help, again, to help these students to become more self-reliant and independent, and to have a sense of control. So sending them to the principal's office should be used as a last resort, and should be the final response that you would have to any issue. Then we have our team encouragement strategies, and this individual picked developing a growth mindset, using positive communication, collaborating as her three main strategies, and then she described those at length. And again, that positivity, positive reinforcement is running deep throughout these. Then she has her team procedures for assigning extra credit, for dealing with absenteeism, for dealing with hallway conduct. And then she talks about the way parent-teacher conferences would proceed. And again, you'll notice that it has that element of positivity, that first she discusses student strengths and then bridges and goes into weaknesses and areas of improvement. And then she discusses a school community plan, and she ties in our textbook here, which is fantastic. Feel free to cite that. It's chock full of wonderful information and ideas. And then she talks about the theorist that inspired her rules, expectations, and consequences. And hers is Thomas Gordon. And she cites the importance of the quality of the teacher-learner relationship. And you'll notice throughout, like with her team encouragement strategies, communication, collaboration, building this strong teacher-learner relationship through positivity, through positive reinforcement, and through verbal praise. Those were all elements that were integrated up there. And that's what she then referenced down in this portion. And it really then brings the whole thing full circle, so that it gives reason to why she wrote her rules, consequences, and expectations the way she did. And that's it. You do not need a conclusion. And then she has her two sources that she referenced here in APA format. If you have any questions whatsoever over this, let me know. Send me an email or stop by during office hours.